Thor is widely considered to be a B-tier Vanguard for Marvel.rivals Season 1, with a 20% pick rate, but the second highest Vanguard win rate, averaging almost 52%. I'm going to show you today how I went from unranked to GM with 48 wins and only 17 losses in under 11 hours of competitive gameplay as a Thor one trick. Overall, I held a 74% win rate where I went MVP in 50% of my games. I probably could have done better if I only played competitive when I was feeling fresh, but honestly, I wanted to get to GM quickly for new hero releases in Season 1.5 and get this video out. I will also note that I was target banned in Diamond, and unfortunately couldn't hold a pure one-trick pony status. Okay, let's begin with some basic Thor mechanics. I won't go over all the details of his moves, simply the mechanics and how to best utilize them. Each of his moves that consume Thor Force generate extra health via shields for Thor. This is critically important. Both his Storm Surge and Hammer Throw generate an extra 100 health. These cost 1 Thor Force, but can quickly be recovered almost instantly by simply landing a basic attack on an enemy. Awakening Rune generates an extra 200 health, but consumes all of your Thor Force instantly. Now, the Marvel.rivals suggested combo for Thor is Hammer Throw, Storm Surge, Lightning Realm for Thor Force recovery, and finally Awakening Rune. I'm going to show you a better combo, and one that has allowed me to bully enemy teams. But first, you need to know that you can animation cancel Thor's Hammer Throw. This is done by using primary attack, Hammer Throw, followed by another primary attack. This deals more overall damage faster, costs no Thor Force, and generates 100 shield every time it is used. A better overall combo for engaging would be Storm Surge, Hammer Throw cancel, Rune Awakening, Lightning Realm for Thor Force recovery, Storm Surge again, primary attack, and then Rune Awakening again. This maximizes Thor Force and shield generation. It's 700 overhealth versus Rivals recommended 400. In a 1v1 or a 1v2, it can often outpace damage by opponents given how short Thor's cooldowns are. There are 2 primary engagement styles that I use with Thor. The first is a dive distraction or dive poke. The primary goal is to be an effective Vanguard by forcing attention on yourself and not the rest of your team. Since you aren't a Team Shield Vanguard, it's better to engage physically. This is done by using Thor's Storm Surge to get an off angle on your opponents, again to enter into the backline, and lastly to exit. You want to be careful of the amount of time spent in enemy's backline. This tactic will allow you to stray further from your strategist, but can leave you vulnerable if you're not well positioned. Based on the amount of damage you're taking, consider whether or not it's a good option to include an additional combo into the mix, potentially cleaning up an opponent, or simply aim for distraction, allowing your team to take advantage of the space. You need at least 2 seconds after your Storm Surge to cast it again and escape. Avoid using the Rune Awakening, as this will leave you without mobility for 5 seconds and without any Thor Force to exit. It's basically a death sentence. And a general tip here, pick off angles with exits near health packs or close enough to return to your strategist with cover, so that if you are damaged more than expected, you can recover quickly. Nobody likes a dive hero that complains about heals. The second engagement tactic I like to call dive bursts. The primary goal here is to obtain at least 2 enemy picks, pulling your weight and making space through eliminations, making sure that Thor is a real terror. And this is done by utilizing the recommended combo earlier and engaging with Rune Awakening after diving in with both a Storm Surge and a Hammer Throw cancel. This is a committed offensive engagement, and picks here are necessary. This is a preferred tactic when the enemy team is spread out or staggered, as Thor can 1v1 or even 1v2 most opponents if played well, and we'll get to this later. Be quick to engage and enter into Rune Awakening when there is either 1 opponent left or there will be 1 opponent remaining after only a few attacks, allowing you to damage the second opponent as well before exiting Rune Awakening. If one of the opponents is a Vanguard, it helps to use Rune Awakening to get shots off on teammates behind them. If necessary, escape with Storm Surge back to your team. For this engagement style, you will typically be closer to your strategist, as support will be helpful to ensure you don't die in the process of trying to make space. Let's talk a little bit about tempo and pressure gameplay. Remember, Thor is a dive Vanguard, so your gameplay should revolve around controlling tempo and pressure in the game as much as possible. This means turning heads, getting aggro, and allowing your teammates to lay into the enemy team relentlessly. When the enemy forgets about you, make them remember. When they try to go around you, cut through to their back line. Tempo gameplay as a dive Vanguard also means that it's your job to clean up staggered enemies post-team fight, maintaining their spawn stagger for as long as they'll allow it, and forcing forward chokes when the opportunities exist. You should not be on card duty unless you are defending or just scored an ace and are temporarily taking advantage for card push. You should be the first off the card in this case. You should not overextend. Know your corners, know your getaways, and you should know all health pack positions in each map. All of them. One or more may be on cooldown, so you may need to run routes. This gameplay style pairs particularly well with high pressure DPS such as Winter Soldier, Punisher, Starlord, and Squirrel Girl. Tempo gameplay is less effective with slow, single-shot heroes. Think snipers, as they need to be very accurate. If they fail to hit their shots, you'll end up doing a lot of work for a lot less value. This makes it hard to control the overall match tempo as you rely on them doing their job. You will end up having to play safer, as the enemy team will either completely bunker, healing up and shielding frequently, or they'll push your backline more aggressively, both of which are counter to a preferred Thor playstyle. These heroes include Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Hela. Yes, Hela. Now, it's important to note, higher skill lobbies can often have players choosing these heroes that are actually very good at aiming. In these cases, Hela's team up with Thor allows him to play much more aggressively and is an advantage. So who are you likely to take down in 1v1s? Well, this is entirely player skill dependent, but it's based largely on my own personal experience. I will go into Vanguards more than the Duelists or Strategists, as they take significantly more effort to bring down in 1v1s. For Vanguards, both Doctor Strange and Magneto are Team Shield Vanguards and are engaged up close and personal. This is because they will resort to their shields most of the time, and Thor can simply primary attack through them throughout the fight, gradually beating them down. Strange will eventually have a difficult time reloading the longer the engagement goes on, even with his animation cancels. You can utilize Rune Awakening to force him to shield or to break it when he's in need of a reload. In Magneto's case, Rune Awakening is preferred after his cooldowns are burned. Thor has higher mobility than both of these Vanguards and can chase or escape as necessary throughout the fight. Now, Hulk, Venom, and Thing are also dive Vanguards, so your mileage may vary here depending on their skill level as well. For the most part, you will be peeling these tanks off of your team, unless you are able to completely prevent them from playing their game. You will need to cycle through your cooldowns as efficiently as possible to ensure that you maximize shield generation. Now for self-healing Vanguards, such as Groot and Peni, well, they're great at bunkering. They will require more poke and potentially multiple engagements. For Groot, you will need to isolate him away from his walls, as they take too much effort to bring down and will burn all of your cooldowns. If he's at a maximum overhealth, he presents a real challenge and may take multiple dives to finish. For Peni, you will need to get an off angle and use Rune Awakening to destroy your nest, if your Duelists or Strategists are not already effectively doing so. This will cost you all of your Thor force, but you will be able to engage with a single Storm Surge and Lightning Realm to recover quickly. Stay out of Rune Awakening until cleanup is within range, as you will likely need to force Peni off her webs, preventing both self-healing and taking potential damage from hidden mines. A good Peni will recognize when the fight is lost, web you, and escape. Now I left out Cap. Why? Well, because while you may be able to get a couple hits off, a strong Cap player will steal any nearby health packs from you and ultimately waste your time. Now, a list of duelists that you should challenge in 1v1s whenever you catch them out of position. Again, this should be match dependent and based on their skill level, and this is based on a lot of my own personal experience. Punisher, Hawkeye, Hela, Black Panther, Magic, Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl. Just be careful of her acorns, as she can potentially hit you twice with them and then bounce away. Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, Bucky, Namor, Wolverine. Yes, Wolverine. Iron Fist, Mr. Fantastic. Just don't waste any energy in his reflexive rubber fridge form, as it ultimately will just come back to you. Now notice I didn't mention Psylocke or any of the flyers. Why? Well, first, if Psylocke doesn't want the fight, she'll just run. And if you're lucky enough to catch a low-rank Psy, you can probably finish her. But a high-rank Psylocke will make you regret the challenge. Now, for flying duelists, such as Storm, Ironman, Starlord, or Human Torch. They will mostly waste your time and effort, so unless you're peeling, it is better to let your teammates take the challenge. You can still poke them from a distance, but final hits are less likely if they play well. If necessary, you can challenge them in more favorable conditions, such as buildings, if they are reckless enough to take the duel. A couple of primary attacks, Rune Awakening, and a Lightning Realm for good measure should do the trick, as shots will be much easier to hit in confined spaces. Again, these are all in 1v1 scenarios. You will have to gauge the amount of support they're receiving in teamfights, and that brings me to one of Thor's highest values as a diving vanguard, engaging strategists when they are vulnerable. When it comes to strategists, Adam Warlock and Loki bring a lot of value into countering Thor due to their sheer amount of burst team healing. For this reason, displacing them or catching them out of position is a must if you want your gameplay to go smoothly in the match. Rocket and Jeff, you may get lucky to catch them out of position, but top level players will easily avoid any attempt you make at finishing them, and overall, again, waste your time. You can counter Jeff's ult with Thor's if you wait a couple of seconds, ensuring you get a tick or so of lightning in before slamming down directly on him. Invisible Woman, Mantis, Luna Snow, and Cloak and Dagger are all extremely easy to chase down and eliminate once you bait out their cooldowns. For their defensive ults, get familiar with each of their respective times and engaging near the end with Thor's ult, ideally getting in a tick or two of lightning before slamming down. Why would you choose to counter these ults with Thor's? Well, this brings me to the last part of Thor's gameplay, his ult, and one that I often see other Thors getting little to no value out of. A majority of Thor players engage with Thor's ult when the opposing team is at full health and can easily get away. This leaves them lucky to get a single pick or two for the unfortunate players with no escape cooldowns. In my opinion, Thor's ultimate is best utilized in 3 ways to extract the most value. But before we get into that, I should note that you should not plan to hold his ult forever, as it is easy to build. Use it whenever one of these 3 scenarios pop up and you will do your team a favor. Countering defensive ults. Why? Because most teams encourage players to play inside their defensive ults. This ironically works against them. If you were able to time their ults and keep track of their overall ult usage in the scenario of multiple defensive support ults, you can often fool them into misgauging their own safety. Since Thor's ultimate can no longer be stunned once he's overhead, they will almost always allow you to strike on them with the idea that you overcommitted. You will prove them wrong. Now, Cloak can shroud against this, so beware of her cooldown as well. Holding choke or forcing space to an ideal choke. A less optimal use of Thor's ult is to use it to either hold an ideal choke or force the push on the next one. Why? Because it usually results in minimal eliminations. To optimize its effectiveness here, engage in with a slightly more aggressive dive burst mentality and then finish strongly with his ult. This will significantly improve your chances to add elimination since your opponents will already have taken damage, and also improve your likeliness of living through such an aggressive push. And lastly, annoying cleanup. It's worth noting that Thor's ult is one of the most instant large area effect cleanup abilities in the game. With a near zero cast time, any opponent on critically low health will immediately be deleted. I recommend using this method on annoying targets such as flyers or opponents with high mobility if your team isn't capable of keeping them in check. You can poke them, storm surge in, and guarantee a kill. I don't recommend this for every ult in the match, as it personally feels like bad manners, but on high value targets, it can quickly change the current teamfight dynamics, leading to either a successful push or capture. Playing objectively is how you win. If possible, reposition after the cleanup to potentially try and secure 1 or more eliminations upon slamming down. I hope you enjoyed this very distilled Thor gameplay tutorial. And now I want to run through a sample gameplay using the playstyle above for pushing the convoy on Spider Island. This match was ranked roughly halfway points-wise to GM, and in a mostly gold lobby on another ult that I created for limit testing Thor and comp. The aggressiveness used here is more extreme than higher rank lobbies, so really have to tame it back when you get to those higher skill levels, as I simply can get away with more and push Thor to his limit. But it makes a great demonstration on being relentless when opportunities arise. All right, so right out of the gates here, I see the enemy team, and I want to cut to their back line, pushing them back to the first choke. I really don't care here about getting eliminations. I'm just trying to put a lot of pressure on their team. Now that I see them back at that choke, I'm staying near the jump pad and near the health pack in case I need to quickly run to them. I get an early pick, and that signals me that I can go in and take out one of their strategists. Finish off Luna here, box in Hawkeye, and then take down Hulk. He's left alone, and so he's really easy to clean up, especially since I've got a healer right behind me. I don't even take the Cloak challenge, and I wait for my team to catch up because honestly, I'm so far ahead of the team, and the cart is still making its way over. Now, I can hear the enemy team setting up top, so I reposition myself and wait for them to come. I see Rocket's res. I try to get that picked off because I know a team fight's coming up, and the less they have a chance of getting a res, the better. Hulk jumps down here, and the first thing I do is try to isolate him from his team. Luna pops her ult. I'm a little scared, but honestly, I'm just going to cycle through the combo, as I mentioned before, and try to keep my armor up while picking up this health pack as much as possible. I use my ult here as an escape and to stay alive to buy myself some more time. I hear a Cloak behind me. She ults, and she actually tops me up. So she saved me here. Big thanks to her. We're able to secure the point relatively easily and about as efficiently time-wise as we could have. Now, I'm not going to waste a lot of time here because remember, the whole point of a dive Vanguard is to make space. I'm going to challenge this Moon Knight, and unfortunately, Cloak, going to protect her Moon Knight, got a little too close to me. I'm going to push to the furthest possible choke that I can, right now believing that I can get away with it. Unfortunately, Hawkeye got a great headshot, and he sent me back to spawn. But that's fine. The cart's just out of the gates, and I'm just going to respawn. I'll meet back up with my team sooner than they'll actually engage in the fight. As I'm running out, I can see here that the team fight has just begun, and they wasted 2 Duelist ults. Our Mantis pops her ult, and I immediately go in with the confidence that I could take out some Duelists and change the fight dynamic instantly. Our Storm here popped her ult and helped with the cleanup. Hulk's trying to do something, but unfortunately he's got no team around him. Again, cleaned up her Cloak. I don't know what she was doing this game, but she was getting way too close to her team. Not wasting any time here, I'm going to try to push again to the nearest choke that I can find, which is the door. I've got my ult, so I'm going to use it for a quick cleanup here, keeping them as staggered as possible. That's 2 picks, maintain pressure on the door just in case someone comes out, and then assist the cart to make sure that we cap this point before they have a chance to contest. Now again, I'm a dive Vanguard. I have to keep pressure on their team and make sure they don't have a chance to get set up. I see both of their strategists out here with the Hulk and decide to pick that challenge. If anything, our spawn door is right outside. Both of my strategists are behind me, so I decided to pop Rune Awakening and go for this challenge on the Hulk and the Wolverine. What I failed to realize here is both the strategists then left me for the cart. And I get sent back to spawn, but Luna wastes her ult, and again, my spawn door is just right outside. All in all, I also won on that death. I set up, I find the team, and I start identifying how I can make space. I see Hawkeye up top, and I want to put pressure on him. When I get up there, I also see Namor. Now, I just hate Namor players, and I want them to pop their bubble, so I challenged him. He didn't get a chance, and he died. I make the most space I can by pushing them back to their spawn door as hard as I can, allowing the cart to push up the ramp. What you'll see is we still have 2 people on the cart, and I'm able to use my ult here and pick up 2 supports. They are really staggered and desperately trying to get set up, but I just won't let them. This costs Hulk his form, and no one left to contest on the point, And that's the end of the round. Now, if we take a look at the stats here, we'll see just how much effort I put in for the final hits and how far ahead of the team I was simply by putting pressure on the enemy team and winning in the staggered eliminations. What you can see here is that I was really able to take advantage of a dive Vanguard playstyle and pick every 1v1 or 1v2 that I could. Granted, this was a gold lobby, so they were out of position a lot, and I really took advantage of them for it. But I was able to get 16 final hits in the first half and almost double the damage of anyone else on the scoreboard with the exception of their Hawkeye. It should go without saying that we won the second half of this match, hands down. Now, I'm sure some of you are saying that was far too easy, so let's jump over to a mid-GM low celestial game on Hell's Heaven. So nothing really special here. I'm just going in with the gameplay that I need to take space as soon as possible. I need to make sure that we set up on point, or we at least contest point first. I take a look at their team comp. I notice the Thing. I notice Groot. It's going to be quite a brawl. I'm also seeing Bucky. I'm pretty conscious of his pull. However, our Bucky was able to pull him first. That signals to me that I need to push in on the point as we're up one. I'm putting pressure on both of their tanks, trying to get their Groot and their Thing to back out of the point, but I get contested pretty hard, so I back out and get topped up. I don't waste any time getting back in the fight as I know our Strange needs me. I'm going in to take as much damage and cycle through my cooldowns, gathering as much shield as I can. I call out to my team that Luna's low, but I decide not to take the challenge because this is a higher rank lobby and I just can't get away with that. I'm keeping pressure here on the midpoint and then pushing back to main point. So what's going through my mind here is I want to bait out Bucky's pull as often as I can to prevent us from getting pulled into his team, while at the same time just maintaining our presence on the point and keeping the clock running. I see our Bucky go in and I see their Cloak ult. What I'm trying to do here is support Bucky, while at the same time make sure that they don't get too much space onto the point and make pressure. Unfortunately, our Bucky dies in his engagement, and so does our Luna. I ult here with Strange to maintain pressure on the point, and we're able to actually hold it. This was a big win for us because it just doubles our time on the point and makes it even more difficult for them to win on this first match. You'll notice here that we don't push too far up. We're actually playing point quite conservatively, and this just happens a lot more in higher rank lobbies. I challenge Bucky up here just to draw his attention before going up and looking for my Namor. I'm not entirely sure why the Namor jumped down. I tried to support him here, and it cost me my life. Their Luna jumps in, and I really should have just stayed back, let our Namor get his free res, and then jumped in afterwards. This ended up costing us the point and forcing us to regroup. But, you know, that's okay. We're at 80% and they're at 0% right now. I wait for the team to regroup. There's no sense in going alone and dying. Our Strange signals that he wants to open up a portal, and so we're going to use that to retake this point and hopefully just finish up this match quickly. Their Bucky pushes too far, I pop my Rune Awakening, and actually get us up one. So now it's 5-6. We go in with a very heavy mentality that we need to get these picks quick. Their Groot ults and a chance to save them from this fight, and then Namor gets a huge pick. We're now down 4, and it's just Strange and I on the point. Strange is holding his shield because he's low on health, so I realize I have to pick off Luna here. And then after Luna, I have to put my attention and focus on Namor, trying to prevent our Strange from dying. He's able to support in this fight, and we both double team them. Now, it's down to the final seconds, and we're pretty sure that they're going to portal. Our Strange goes back to get some heals from the healers, and I contest here on the portal, pulling their attention away from the team and towards me. I jump back for some heals and notice that our rocket pops his amplifier. That means I can get away with a free ult. I go back in, and we're able to secure the first point on this match relatively easily. Round 2, the game plan pretty much stays the same. Why? Because we won round 1 hands down. So I'm going in here to contest the point just like I did in round 1, using my Rune Awakening to open up with some damage on poke while staying covered here. I noticed pretty early that they switched Thing for Thor, and to me this match just got 10 times more interesting, as I love a good challenge. Unfortunately, I got distracted by Thor's dive in and wasn't able to support our Strange with his ult. Their Groot was able to get an early pick here, and now I have to play more defensively. Their Bucky popped his ult, but we were able to cancel that pretty quickly before he was able to get on a run with it. It looks like they're going to take the point here first after popping 2 ults was R1, and then another one here with Loki copying their Cloak. That's 3 ults in the first 30 seconds of this match, so we set up defensively back and try to regroup. The team is able to back up to around this corner to reposition and allow everyone to heal up before we make another push for another team fight. Our rocket signals it's time to go in, throws his Z down, and I start pressuring him with the Rune Awakening, adding for more damage, hoping our Bucky gets some picks. Their Cloak pops her ult, and our Bucky actually jumps to the right side there, picking off theirs. Their Namor tries to go for another quad, but this gets blocked by Strange and Luna with her ult. We're able now to push in relentlessly as they have no defensive ults, and I choose to target Thor to make sure that he stays out of our back line. Unfortunately, he does get a nice ult off on our Luna, but I block him here from getting out, and he gets punished for it. I go in, I pop my ult, trying to pick up one of their supports, but their Cloak cancels it. That was a strong play on her. I noticed that quite a few of their team are low, and so I decided to play this pillar while building up as much shield as possible and picking up with Rocket's heals. You can see here that I'm actually filling up on health while taking space away from their team. I push Thor to our back line, and unfortunately that cost Namor his life, but I'm also able to pick off Thor again. I pick off their Bucky, and then that means they're down 2 right now. So we take this pressure, clean up their Cloak, and take the point. They were able to get 76% out of this push, so it's not looking good for us on round 2. Our Bucky goes in for a pull here, trying to see if he can grab one of their teammates, and our Strange is also supporting up pretty far forward on this choke. Their Thor's trying to get to our back line, and I put some more pressure on their main line before seeing him dive in. Thor tries to jump to our back line, and I keep him displaced, and their Groot actually costs him their life by putting that wall up. He wasn't able to get saved by their Cloak ult, and their Bucky comes in with a huge ult and cleans up our team. They're able to retake the point and really make a contest of this match. We should have time here for one more push, and you can see that no one on our team is going in with the mentality to get picked because we really do need a 6v6 here if we're going to try to retake this point one more time. It's down to the final seconds, and our Luna pops her ult so that we can push in. Their Groot pulls us back off the point, and Namor tries again once more for another Groot Namor ult. I ult in their back line, trying to push their supports as far back as possible. And I'm able to clean up their Cloak here. I make an attempt at Loki, but he's just too damn squirrely for me to get a hold on. So I turn my attention to Groot. I'm pretty low on health, and their Thor cleans me up with his ult. Honestly, that was a good play by him, and I probably would have done the same. They take the second point. It's time for round 3, and the strategy is still pretty much the same, but it's really time to lock in. We don't have any time for mistakes or errors, and we have to make sure that we get this point as soon as possible and don't give them a chance to get the first control again. I take high ground up here, really pushing them to go main on their first point. Their Thor sees me and he makes a push for me. I stay up here to defend Rocket's res and make sure that he doesn't get a chance to destroy that. He decides to dip out and their Cloak decides to ult in. Our Strange is low on health, jumps up and pops a fat ult with our Rocket's amplifier on top of them. We're actually able to burn their Groot, and now they're down 1. Right now, we're just fighting for point contest, and we see that they're actually backing out. Their Thor tries to maintain presence on point, but he's just not able to hold it by himself. Our Namor pops his ult and actually picks off their Cloak. Their Loki got off an early copy and casts another Cloak ult on top of point. But they're just down too many players. This ends up being an absolute waste for their team, and they have to back out. We reset up and make sure that they don't have a chance to push main. I can hear Thor coming up around the top, and then notice he's actually taking out Rocket's res, but there's nothing I can do about that. I try to go back up and see if I can at least put pressure on him, and notice that he's going into no man's land. I chase him and make sure that he doesn't have a chance to actually get any backline pressure on our team, and force them to push main. They try yet another Groot Namor ult combination. Really haven't quite figured out that we've caught onto this. Our Bucky sees this and pops his ult, and it starts to become an ult trade-off. Rocket pops his, and I'm able to burn their Thor here and back up our Bucky by putting pressure back into their back line, and this time using my ult to pick up their 2 supports and really create a stagger on their spawn timings. This means that we have the chance to regroup here, reset up, and should be able to add another 20 percentage points on the clock. Our Bucky's still applying forward line pressure as he's able to rebuild his ult again faster if he does so. The map changes and he barely makes it through the doorway without getting squished. And here we go for another team fight. You can see we're already at 62 percentage points, and they really have to take a point capture here soon or it's going to be over for them. Their Thor's way out of position, used his Rune Awakening, and cost them their 6v6. Their Cloak pops her ult, and I put pressure into their backline, trying to keep the team from being able to utilize it effectively. Unfortunately, our Luna pops her ult a little too late to save me, but I get a free res, and she gets the ult off for the rest of the team. I see Namor sitting up top and decide he's an easy pickup for this fight. We're now looking at 92%, and very slim chance of them winning. And that's the end of the game. Now if we take a look at the stats after the game, you can see a couple things here that are pretty glaring. The first, it came down to final hits, and secondly, overall damage. And this goes back to tempo gameplay. Having Bucky and Namor on our team was huge. We were able to put pressure on their team constantly, even when it looked like we weren't. Especially with Rocket's Z and having him on our team, which I think is widely misunderstood in the Marvel.rivals community of how much he can add to a team. And I was able to get more final hits than it probably looked like throughout the video. Lastly, I hope you enjoy this little montage I put together from competitive plays I got along the way to GrandMaster, along with some of the GrandMaster plays that I have on my main account. Like and subscribe for more.
Amazing. I was about to die. Oh my gosh. These are combo. On the island.
straight for point. Captain's fire straight.
The god of thunder! Let's go, let's go. The god of thunder!
Still up. Make up. Peek up. Wait, heart. Peek up.
429 of the record.
3, 2, 0.
Wow, that's crazy.
Time to switch things up, including
429 is crazy.
another